Listen, the pain that I felt. I know I said positive experience, but it's still positive because the actual labor and delivery story, right? But this particular cervical sweep, I said, nah, mm-mm. Hello, everybody. Welcome back to my channel. And if you're new here, welcome. Welcome. I'm glad that you stumbled upon my video, I guess. And yeah, so it's going to be a chit chat. I'm not going to talk about how long the chit chat is going to be because every time I say that, I'm like, oh, it's not going to be long. It ends up being kind of long. We're going to just have a chit chat. And I'm going to try to keep it as short as possible because it's an interesting story, right? So today's video, I'm going to be talking about my labor and delivery story. So I'm gonna call it my positive labor and delivery story. Emphasis on positive because prior to me being in this season, I wouldn't really say I heard a lot of positive stories on what labor was like or the delivery of a baby because it was just some wild, scary story that, that if you're not careful, you will want to run away from it. But not to downplay or undermine the fact that it's actually a big deal journey. It's an intense journey, but many times you just hear the negative sides to it, and so I just wanted to speak my light, if that makes sense, because mine, I would say, bless God, it was I would say it was positive, or maybe it's just how I'm looking at it. I don't know, but we'll talk about it, and y'all can let me know what you think, or let me know your story as well, or stories that you've heard, horror stories, the good stories, and let's talk about this thing that many people don't really talk about. Maybe many people actually talk about this. I don't know. But I'm sharing my story. So let's get into it. So grab a cup of coffee, a cup of water, a cup of juice, cup of I don't know, hot chocolate, whatever it is that you would like to drink, and let's get straight into the video. So a couple of days to my due date or my expected due date, let me put it like that. We started to have conversations about potentially inducing the baby with our midwife because it didn't look like the baby was comfortable. It didn't look like they were gonna just show up, like she was gonna just show up on her own. And so um my last appointment, or what was supposed to be my last appointment, which was a couple of days to my due date, we had a conversation with the midwife that, okay, say the baby doesn't come um towards 41 weeks. So my due date was obviously the 40-week mark. But if it's starting to enter 41 weeks or 40 weeks and a few days, what can we do? Can we schedule an induction and all of that so that we can get this labor started? And bear in mind, we also were not in a hurry because we're in the middle of a move. So we knew when we were going to have when we would have moved and when we would like to get the labor started if the baby didn't show up on her own accord. And so we had the conversation with the midwife, and she did inform us that if it wasn't an at risk pregnancy and everything was okay, it has to be over a certain, I don't know if she said over 41 weeks before we may or may not get a space in the hospital, or the hospital approving an induction, something of that sort. But we just said okay, and we were like, okay, just in case they were going to approve, we would like to schedule one for a day before I was going to be 41 days. So that happened, and we said okay. So she said my midwife said she was going to try. I was like, okay, cool. Um, we also talked about a cervical sweep before that. So that's us trying to attempt everything before officially doing an induction, again, just in case the hospital didn't approve of that. And so I had a cervical sweep scheduled for, I believe, this date, I wish I wrote it down, but I believe it was the day, my due date, exactly my due date, that I now decided to do a cervical sweep. So I went back to my midwife for another appointment. So it was like after the appointment where we had a conversation about induction was supposed to be the last appointment, but then I now had another appointment because baby didn't come on her due date, on the expected due date, and so that day we agreed that we'll have a cervical sweep. I tried to understand what it was like. She did say it wasn't going to be. My midwife said it wasn't going to be comfortable, but I was like, pain, right? Okay, let's see if it's something I can bear. And so my mom was there, my husband was there, and so for the appointment, and so she did tell me a little bit about how invasive the cervical sweep would be, and that if I wanted to do it, I should let her know. And I was like, yeah, sure, let's see if we can get this baby here sooner rather than later. And so she takes me to the examining room where it was going to be done. Obviously, I requested that my husband should be there, and she said that was fine. And she started. Listen, the pain that I felt. I know I said positive experience, but it's still positive because the actual labor and delivery story, right? But this particular cervical sweep, I said, nah, so I tried everything in me. Like my pain tolerance, I'll actually say, like physical pain, not emotional pain. Physical pain tolerance is actually pretty high. And so when she started, I was like, okay, I'm just gonna let it happen, and so we can get this thing started. But nope, after a couple of invasive, I don't know how to explain it. It's like somebody shoving their hand up there and just sort of creating room. I don't know how else to explain it. I screamed a little bit. She stopped at some point. Her hands were still in there, but when she went on a little further, I said, no, take it out. I don't want it anymore. And then she stopped. And then I had time to breathe. I tried to ask her to go again, but she was like, no, that's not something that she can't keep going in and out. And I was like, okay, I get it. So I felt a little disappointed. Like, I wish I let it, I fessed up to let it happen, but I let that be, and I just moved on. And we just moved on, and then we said, okay, we're going to wait for the actual induction if we hopefully get approved, for lack of a better word, and we can get that started. And so now we've moved because baby's past her due date, and we have moved to our new apartment, and we're settling in nice. So we were ready. Like baby can come anytime. We're not in between like the move anymore. We're all moved in and we're ready. And so the day before, I was exactly 41 weeks. I went into the hospital in the morning, and my husband has had, or I was in the middle of an exam, so he couldn't be there in the morning because he had to go for the exam, right? And so I go in the morning for the way they explained it to me was it was going to be the start of the induction, that I was going to have a medication inserted inside me that would sort of get labor started, and that if I still hadn't gone into labor or something like that, I'll come back to finish off the induction process. That's how it was explained to me. I may be wrong, pregnancy brain at the time, but that's what I understood. And so I went to the hospital. This was a Wednesday. Was it a Wednesday? I believe it was a Wednesday, yes. I went to the hospital, and then around 10 a.m., yeah, around 10 a.m., the gynecologist comes in, my midwife too. They check me, do the whole um, normal things that they check your vitals and all of that in the hospital. And then the gynecologist and her assistants, they come in to insert the medication inside of me. I had to get the name of the medication from my midwife, and it's called Cervidil. I'll spell it out. Hopefully, I'll spell it out. I'll put it in the description. Cervidil, and that was inserted inside me. At that point, they also noticed uh, like a little lumpy cyst around my cyst. I don't know what is allowed to say or not say on YouTube, but a cyst, and so which eventually was not a big deal and ruptured when I had the baby. So it self ruptured and it wasn't a big deal. So, but the gynecologist had to take a look at that with her uh, assistant, or would I say like a student gynecologist as well that was working with her. And so the medication was inserted inside of me, and I was kept in the room for another hour by my midwife just to take a look, make sure I was fine. I didn't have like temperature or anything like that, just to monitor me pretty much until I was on that for about an hour. Well, anyway, so I was on the medication and being monitored. And when my midwife said, okay, everything was fine, I didn't have a temperature or anything like that, I was released to go home um, and just allow my body do what it's gonna do, right? When I was released to go home, right in the hospital, when we're about to get into the elevator, I already felt something different. But obviously, I've never had a baby before, so I wasn't sure if that was the start of a contraction. Who knows, right? I just felt a little bit of, that pain is unusual, but it's okay. So we got home. We got a ride. When we got home, as soon as I came down from the ride, I felt another pain, and I was like, that feels interesting. I've never felt anything like that before, which was even a little more intense than what I felt at the elevator. And I was like, something is going on. Again, I didn't know what it was. People explain to you what contractions will feel like, what it may not feel like, and stuff like that. But I didn't know, had zero idea. I've just heard that it might be similar to your period pain. And I don't know, me, I didn't really have period pains like that. So, or they were never intense. But so when I felt that, I was like, something different. As soon as we got into the apartment, I just told my mother, I was like, I feel the pain again. Please make me food. Like I remember I requested for pounded yam. I said, please make me food because I had a feeling. I don't know why. I don't know what it was, but I just had a feeling that if I don't eat now, I may not be able to eat again. And ladies and gentlemen, I was correct. That was the last that was the last meal I had. It was around 5 p.m. at this time now. So 5 p.m. on a Wednesday, the day before I turned 41 weeks. It was already 5 p.m. around the time when I was asking for food. So after I ate the food, I was able to eat it, didn't feel anything. And then I relaxed and I was on the nursing chair. So I was just like, swinging back and forth. And then I felt another pain. So I paged my midwife for the first time in my entire pregnancy. I paged my midwife because they did say on my list of things that if you want to page, it has to be for this reason and that reason. Like, don't just abuse the paging system, which I totally understand. And so I never had to page them for anything because nothing out of the ordinary happened. But this time around, I had to page because I was like, I feel something. And so I did. And she kind of asked me the right questions, like how far apart are the pains that I'm feeling. And I think at that time, it started to feel like maybe 5 minutes, 4 minutes, I don't fully remember. And then she was like, yeah, give it a little more time. If anything happens or if you feel a little more intense, if the intensity increases by around 9 p.m., she said, or if it increases before, then I should page again. Or oh no, she said if it increases or if anything changes or it gets worse, like closer in time, I should page her again. If not, she was gonna check in with me around 9. And so we're just there. And then I was trying to time the contractions. I was still okay because I was still sitting through it and all. Around 8 p.m., my husband got back home. And then as soon as he comes back, I just tell him or try to describe the kind of pain I was feeling. We tried to watch it for another couple more minutes. It was almost 9, so I was trying to hold off until then, but I couldn't. I couldn't. So I told him again, and I was like, please, call our midwife, page her, which he did, and then we described everything that I was feeling. If I'm, I think I started to shiver now. My memory is a bit hazy, but I think I started to feel like feverish, like cold, and so she came. She said she was going to come when we paid her, and so she came to the house, which is another fantastic reason why midwives are just amazing. So because there's this personal touch that they have. But anyway, I digress. So she came by the house, and by this time I was on the bed. I had this app. I can it's not sponsored, but I can put a screenshot of the app that I used on the screen, so you can see. And this was the app I was using to time my contractions. And at this point, it was just getting closer and closer together, and it was painful. I'm not gonna sugarcoat it. I was screaming through them because the scream just felt like it was going to help me not feel it as much. That's not true, but I just screamed it out, and so I was able to go through the contraction, and so so that was helpful. And then my husband was by my side, my mom was also there. They were trying to do everything that they could. My bags were already packed by then, obviously. Like I've had my bags packed before my due date, and now I'm almost a week past the due date, so I was just kind of ready in that sense. And so contracting, and then my midwife shows up and she checks me, and apparently I was already about 5 centimeters dilated. And so she also checks my temperature as well as the baby's heart rate. Yeah, I think that's what it was. And then she said the baby's heart rate was unusually higher, and so we should get ready to go to the hospital, um, and pack everything that baby's on the way, and also I needed to be monitored because of that, because of the fact that because of the fact that the baby's heart rate was a little higher than usual. And so I was like, okay, cool. And so we get our things, get ready. My midwife heads over to the hospital to get everything ready and just tells us to take our time and then come to the hospital when we can. So we pack everything, everybody gets ready. Um, may I just add at this point, before having the baby, before going to the hospital, I had a plan of how I'll look. I wasn't trying to do my makeup or anything. I'm not. I mean, I'm not trying to record anything. But I intended to look a little cute, but that wasn't the case. Like everything I wore was my husband's outfit. Like I looked very homeless. And then I just wore, and then I just wore something. This is a point to any mom expecting, if you have plans on looking cute or trying to be, I don't know, anything for the day of your birth, plan it beforehand. Like actually like put the clothes that you want to wear aside and tell the person who is taking you, your husband, your mom, whoever is going to be there when you're going to the hospital, that this is what you want to wear so that it can help you. Because at that time it was just the picking of whatever was close to me and just to be comfortable as much as possible. And then we headed to the hospital. So that's how it went. And so we headed to the hospital. I'm gonna pause here and talk about a quick birth plan because now we're about to go to the hospital and it's like, what was the plan in the first place? And then when I now say what actually happened, you can kind of see why, or some things might make sense. So prior to having the baby, the plan was to have or try to have it unmedicated. So I didn't want to use epidural for so many reasons, as well as also knowing the what do you call it, the cost effect, because I didn't have OHIP insurance. The OHIP is the Ontario Insurance Plan, health plan, which I've talked about in a previous video that you can watch or refer back to. And so I didn't have that, and so if I had to use a epidural, I'd have had to pay out of pocket. I had this idea of, I've never had a baby before. I don't know what it feels like. Let me try. If I can't, then if I can't handle it, then epidural was on the table, or a medicated birth was on the table, right? So I just wanted to find that out because when we get to the hospital and some things, the way it goes down, it will make sense why I said what I just said. Okay, so we get to the hospital around 10 p.m., 10-ish. But I'll be following the timeline. And then I go to this room where my midwife is trying to, what do you call it, monitor me, and get the baby's heart rate down and my temperature down and everything. So they put me on this fluid, Nigeria will call it drip. Put me on the fluid so that it can help my temperature go down. So I was on that and I was being monitored, and that kind of helped a little bit. And the contractions weren't, it wasn't as intense. I don't know if it was because I was in hospital, but it wasn't as intense. And so we're just going through it and all. I was there for a little bit, about an hour or so, and then she started to prepare the delivery room. And my midwife also told me that unfortunately she had an exam stated for that day as well. Everybody had exams around me, and so she was going to hand me over to another midwife on the team. So bear in mind, this is the midwife that I had seen throughout the entire time of my pregnancy. I had seen some other people on the team as well, because midwives work in a group, like just in case one person had another birth or something, because they don't know the exact day you're going to have a baby, right? But I had one midwife, and then it was now another one who I never met before. That got me a little nervous, but I had prayed that my birth. The birthing of my baby is going to go exactly according to the plan that God has. So I was like, okay, fine. So that means this is the person that was supposed to be there anyway. So working according to God's plan. Great. So I try to calm down in that, and I try to relax in that, and just know that everything is going to be okay, that God is in control. And so we head into the delivery room. This it was quite nice and big and everything. Contractions were not smiling. The last I heard, I was 5 centimeters dilated, and I didn't know when it would happen, when when the baby was gonna come, and we just kept going through contractions. The other midwife came in around midnight. So I was with my midwife, like my original midwife, for about 2 more hours after she monitored me and everything. We were in the delivery room just before midnight, and by midnight somebody else comes, introduces herself and everything. I was like, oh yes, sweet, but contraction. And then this person was like an angel. She would just come near me when I'm contracting and like talk me through it and just be there. I don't know how else to explain it. She was literally there. Anything I needed. She'll say, do you want to walk around? Did I need the ball, the I don't know what it's called, that big bouncy ball that people sit on and try to ease off. Should I recline the bed up? She was just so sweet. And so she was walking me through my contraction and also put some monitors around me. Was taking notes as well. And at this point, it was just a waiting game, right? And so I didn't know what to really expect or how it was going to be, but we were just there. And just my mom was there already tired. My husband was tired. He had an exam that day, had to wake up early. He came back late at night, and now he has a baby on the way. It was just a little intense, and so he was tired. I could see. So I think I pointed that out to the nurse, and she helped recline the chair for him to also sit on and kind of relax. My mom was there, mixture of excitement and nerves, maybe because her first grandbaby, and she was praying, and so we're all just there, and the contractions were just coming, and they were painful. I'm not gonna ever sugarcoat contractions to anybody. It's painful, painful. Period. Contractions are painful. God bless you and God help you go through them. The Lord is your strength. Praise God. Hallelujah. So it was painful. So everyone was coming through, and I was trying to bear the pain, right? Just, I mean, it's contraction, right? So bear the pain, scream. I was screaming. I didn't keep quiet. I wasn't calm. I was screaming through contractions. But the problem here, or the issue, starts when it starts getting closer together. And then it's like, I just finished bearing one, and then if 1 minute later I'm having to go through another one. That's where it was for me. So at some point, I was like, I want an epidural. Inject me with whatever. That the pain is too much, and I don't know when it's going to end. Again, my midwife came, and then she talked about. I don't know if many people know about this, but probably you do. She then suggested, after going through a couple, and then she'll talk me through it. She just wanted epidural to be my last resort. I know on her end it was because of the financial aspect of it, because my midwife's already aware of the fact that I didn't have that covered under um uh the what do I call it? Because I was covered, I had funding under the midwifery, but I didn't have that particular thing, epidural, covered. So I think because she was aware, she was trying everything she could to prevent me from like taking the epidural. So she would talk me through it, and then she now suggested laughing gas, um, which I did use, but I wouldn't say it took the pain away, but it just distracted me. That's the best way I can describe it. So I would like inhale through every contraction and breathe. So it was distracting me. It was helpful for a bit, but after a while, I was like, nah. And then my midwife, Angel, came again. I was like, okay, we will, but let me just ask you a couple of questions. She was like, anytime a contraction comes, do I feel any pressure, like I want to poop? That's what she said. And I was like, yeah, actually, I just felt that in the past couple of contractions. I feel like I was supposed to like, okay, cool. Let's take a look at it. Let's measure again. So she wanted to see how far gone or how dilated I was. And she checked. And ladies and gentlemen, I was already 9.5 centimeters dilated. And so it was time. So yeah, I really did want an epidural because I couldn't take it anymore. It was a lot of pain. And just when I couldn't, and I was saying I want to give up, and I'm done, and I want to do it. There's a whole message here that we can preach, but anyway, that I'm done, and I want to take the epidural. I'm done. I just want to take it. I was already more like almost there. And so she was like, yeah, that it was time to push. We were ready. And after she said that, it was like my body just got into beast mode and it just started to push on its own. at that time it was almost 3 a.m. It was about 2 a.m. So this is 12 to 2. The lady just got there. She was supposed to get another midwife come. That would have that because there's supposed to be a team. It wasn't just supposed to be her, the one who would catch the baby, the one who would nurse me afterwards and do my stitches and all of that. So they were supposed to be two. And so when my body started to push, she tried to page the other midwife I call and like, where are you? Because she was supposed to be there later. They didn't think that it was going to progress so quickly. And so she was trying to tell me to hold off. So every time my body would contract and push, she would say, you know what, on that next contraction, try not to push. And I just couldn't help it. And so she was trying to get the baby station ready and everything and everything. She was so calm, even in spite of that. I'm just trying to get the baby station ready, do all of those things, but my body was just coming and pushing. And at 3 a.m., my daughter was here. Praise the Lord. That's why now there's a lot more I can say in between, but this is exactly why I say it's positive because that was it. I mean, realistically, things would happen like the pain and everything. Anyway, my daughter was here at three, I believe three, a little 3:10, 3:15. I don't remember the exact time right now. She arrived, healthy, everything. Um, it was around that time that the second midwife arrived and saw the baby, and she also was shocked because the timeline was just wild how quickly it progressed. Um, what else? And so the other midwife takes the baby and was like assessing the baby and doing everything. It's my memory is fuzzy a little bit, and so my husband was with her like, and the midwife and the baby, and then my mom was with me while the um, other midwife was stitching me up, cleaning me up, making sure like squeezing my womb, squeezing my tummy to I don't know what they were doing to maybe make sure to see where the blood kept coming from because I bled for a little bit while they stitched me up. And after she did the stitches, they numbed. There was a numbing injection, a numbing thing that they put that helped with the stitches, so I didn't feel any of the needles and the stitches. Thankfully, I did see a little bit that there was a lot of blood, but I didn't feel any pain at that point. And so she did do the stitches, and then after she finished, there was still a little bit of blood, so she was squeezing to see where it was coming from, and then they found that it was still just the shedding in the womb and not the stitches. So I was nicely stitched, gave me a peri bottle. Um, oh, I forgot to mention, after the baby came, the placenta came out like 10 minutes after. So that didn't take long at all. I've heard that it might be longer for some people, but mine just came like that. So I was very thankful. She gave me a peri bottle, and what else? And just did all the examining and everything, cleaned me up, got me breakfast, or food. I don't even know if she called it breakfast or dinner. Got me some food to eat. And then by 7:30, we're discharged. And we went back home and everybody came to sleep. I don't know what else to say. I feel like there might be even more things that I'm missing, but I would, of course, if there's anything else, I will come back here and just either put a comment or have an updated video or something. I don't know. Yeah, that was it. And we're done. 7:30 a.m. I was back home, my bed. And then the good thing about the midwives, because I remember talking about benefits of midwives, I have like a 6 weeks post care. So 24 hours later, or even less, 24 hours later, they were already my midwife was already in my apartment, excuse me, for a follow-up and all of that. For 6 weeks I didn't have to go physically to any appointment. She came home to check the baby, check the weights, answered all my questions and stuff like that. So that was my sweet, uneventful, undramatic labor and delivery story. It went fantastic, and I'm grateful to God because I've heard some horror stories. And let me bear in mind that I had one kind of I had a family. I have a family friend who, when she was expecting, like a family friend that was closer to my age and not my parents' age. When she was pregnant with her first baby, I remember asking her like, "How is it?" and everything, and she said, "It's not as bad." This was the statement she made. "It's not as bad as people say." And I feel like that's the one I decided to hold on to. And yeah, so during the pregnancy and stuff, I prayed a lot, prayed with my auntie, prayed with my friends, prayed with my mom. and just stayed prayed up. Pregnancy journey itself it went well, and I'm grateful to God. So yeah, that's it, guys. On event. So that's the story, and glory to God. That's pretty much it. Anything else would be postpartum conversation, but yeah. That's my labor and delivery story. So yeah, thank you so much for watching. If you watch it till the end, you are the real MVP, whatever that means. You're a G. You are an amazing person. Thank you for sticking through with me, and God bless you. And I'll see you in my next video. Don't forget to like, don't forget to share, don't forget to subscribe. Thank you for watching. Bye, guys.